All right, if you made it this far, hopefully, this is now part 2 of some practice problems from practice test 1. So you might be asked to round a value. So let's say I have 3.258942288, and it tells me to round this to the nearest thousandth. All right, so I need to think about these. These are in the tenths place, but what I do, because it's hard to say tenths, hundredths, and all that, the tenths place, the hundredths place. So I think, and I can put to be politically correct, I think that would be my thousandths place. So this is my number that I'm going to round. So remember, the rule is you look at the number next to it. Is this 5 or greater? That's my thumbs up. Yes, it is. So I would round up, and therefore this would round to 3.25. The number I'm rounding up is that 8, 9. All right, what next? So next I can see some multiplication with decimals. So if I have something like 560.2 times 0.032, all right, so I'm looking at multiplying these. So I just first straight multiply. So 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 6 is 12, carrying my 1. 5 times 2 is 10, add that 1. And then now I move 1 space over. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 6 is 18, carry my 1. 3 times 5 is 15, so that would be 16. And then I could say move 1 space over and put the zeros in, but I don't really need them, so I'm going to just add these now. 6, 2, 8, 9, 7. I almost thought it was going to be that song 8675309. Do y'all know that song? Okay, and from here, remember the rule of moving the decimals is how many decimal places are here? 1 decimal place. How many decimal placements are here? 1, 2, 3. So I would add those together to get 4. You start here at the far right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So thus my final answer would be 17.9264. All right, let's see what else we have to do here. Let's try a simplifying problem. So it says negative 2.2 squared and 0.3 plus 0.7. All right, now hopefully you remember the "please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." I never knew that, and a student said that to me, and I'm like, who is Aunt Sally and what does she have to do with this problem that I'm working? Now, a lot of times you'll see a B here as well for brackets. Okay, so, you know, any type of parentheses, square brackets, I call those squirrely brackets and all that kind of good stuff. So if I look over here, the first thing I need to do is what's in parentheses. Well, there's nothing to do on this one. Inside the parentheses, there's no calculations. This one, I could actually add 0.3 plus 0.7, 10, and bring my decimals line up. And so I get just simply 1.0 or just 1. And then this is going to be a negative times a negative, and then times that 1. So I have a negative times a negative is going to be a positive, so I'm not even going to worry about putting the negative signs here. So 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times that 2 is 4, 2 times that 2 is 4, 2 times that 2 is 4. So I get 4, 8, 4. And remember the rule of decimal places, 1, 2, 1, 2 places. And that would be my final answer. All right, what else do we have here? Ooh, I see these and I'm like, ooh, that's a good one. So how about adding, how about if I have to add 2 1/2 plus 4 1/4? This makes me think of recipes, right? Where you like want to change a recipe up. The easiest thing to do is to add the whole numbers. So add the whole numbers, and I can do 2 plus 4 is 6, and then add the fractions, or you have to get those common denominators. You know what all the cool kids are doing? 1/2 plus 1/4. I think I can turn 1/2. 2 times 2 is 4. You know what you're doing here, because students are always like, well, but you're changing the fraction. Not really, because you're just making it not reduced. You're multiplying it by 1. And so I'm multiplying it by 2 over 2. So that 1 times 2 would be 2. 2 times 2, that would be 4. And then plus 1/4. And I get 3/4. So that would be my final answer. The only time you have to worry about that is if it's an improper fraction. You want to be sure, okay, be sure that you are changing the improper fraction into a mixed number to add it back in there. All right, I see the top face of the latest music player. The top face of the latest music player. What is a music player? I don't know what that means, but is 3.313 inches. So the top face is 3.13 inches, and then by 1.65 inches, and it says find the perimeter of the rectangle. So remember, how do you find the perimeter? The perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So it would be 2 times 3.13 plus 2 times 1.65. Off we go to multiplying. You know, instead of multiplying, you're just doubling these, right? If I can write where it's not ugly. So that would be 6, that would be 2, that would be 6. So 6.26, and then doubling 1.65, 10, carry 1, 12, 13, carry 1, 1, 2, 3, 3.3, 0.30, and now I add those, 6.26, 3.30, 6, 5, 9. So I get 9.56, and they asked for units. Well, remember, both of these are in inches, so your final answer would be in inches. The only way it would be square inches is if they asked you to find an area. And hey, that's what's next. I just happen to see an area problem next. So it says, find the area of this rectangle. So area, and I have a rectangle, and it says 0.94 yards, and then this is 2/5 of a yard. So this is like when you buy an area rug, right? And so I know my answer is going to be in square yards. How do I know that? Because the area formula is length times width. And in this case, I'm going to have 0.94 yards times 2/5 yards. And yards times yards is yards squared. I don't know what I'm going to do with this other stuff yet, but I know that would be yards squared. So when I want to multiply a decimal by a fraction, you probably want to change the fraction to a decimal, because I know how much y'all love fractions. So I can do that quickly. 5 into just another good practice of long division. 5 goes into 24 times. My remainder is 0, and I have a decimal right there. So I'm going to have 0.94 times. Remember that you can write multiplication like that. We don't tend to put the x's here, because when you get into algebra, you're like, I don't know if that's an x or a multiplication or what. So 0.94 times 0.4, 4 times 4 is 16, carry 1, 36, 37, and that goes 0. The 4 times 0 is 0, but I have my 3 here. How many decimal places? 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And that would be my final answer, and I think that's enough for this video. Stay tuned for part 3.